Hello and welcome guys to this Ollie's on the Ball tips video. Last week I got 6 out of 9 tips and 7 out of 9 Ollie's calls. Let's get into the games. First, Friday night we've got Sydney versus Carlton. Should be a pretty good game. 11th v 12th. Two teams that probably need to win to keep their finals chances well alive. Then if either team loses this game, which obviously will happen because that's how it works, but whichever team loses this game is in a bit of strife. The Swans, they're coming off a win over North Melbourne. Very controversial with the interchange cap. North Melbourne supposedly made 77 interchanges rather than the 75 cap, but it wasn't convincing. They won by 3 points against North Melbourne. Sitting in 12th, 4 and 6. Carlton, coming off a loss to Collingwood. They played okay, I think, against Collingwood. 11th, 4, 1 and 5. I'm going to tip Sydney at the SCG by 11 points with my Ollie's call that Charlie Curnow kicks 2+ goals. Moving on to the Saturday games. St Kilda Hawthorn, 1:45pm Saturday. Let's start with the Saints. An okay win for them. Wasn't an amazing performance, but it wasn't a terrible performance. They beat GWS, who they're going okay. In Sydney though, GWS put up a pretty good fight as well. The Saints are 7 and 3, sitting in 5th. Hawthorn, 2 and 8, 16th, but coming off a 116-point win over West Coast though. But still pretty impressive. So I don't think Saints will absolutely smash the Hawks, but it will be a comfortable win. I'm tipping them by 42 points with my Ollie's call that Max King kicks 3+ goals after a strong return last week. Melbourne Freo, 2:10pm Saturday MCG. Melbourne versus Fremantle. This is going to be an interesting game. 4th v 10th. Fremantle though, they're in form. Good win over Geelong in Perth, 30-point win. Melbourne coming off a loss to Port Adelaide, so pretty tough in Adelaide. Or Yapulti, should I say, and Nam. This is going to be really close. Originally, I tipped Freo, given Oliver's out and the Melbourne have a few other injuries. But I ended up going with Melbourne. I think because it's at the MCG in Melbourne, Freo don't tend to play too well in Melbourne. I'm tipping Melbourne by 6. With my Ollie's call that Andrew Brayshaw has 22+ disposals. The Brayshaw that plays for Fremantle, not Melbourne. Moving on to the 4th game. GMHBA, 4:35pm Saturday. Geelong versus GWS. Let's start with Geelong. Not very convincing win. Well, a couple of wins. Not a win last week. Sitting 5 and 5. Then they lost to Richmond, and lost to Freo. So they're not going too well, but they're going alright. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. So, yeah. It's going to be a sort of close game. Giants 3 and 7th. Put up some good fights, but I'm going to tip. I think I'm going to have to tip Geelong, given it's at GMHBA, they don't lose there, by 27, with my Ollie's call that Isaac Smith has 15+ disposals. Moving on. Saturday night game at TO Stadium in Darwin. This is the first of 2 weeks in a row the Suns play in Darwin. I think they have like a camp, like 10-day camp. Did the same thing last year. Suns is the home team, 4-6, a loss, but they're going okay. They're in 13th. So, yeah. The Bulldogs, they're going really well, coming off another win at Mars Stadium. Sitting in 6. They're coming back after starting 0-2 even. I think I'm going to tip the Bulldogs by 24 with my eyes call that Suns young gun, Bailey Humphrey has 70 plus AFL fantasy points. Moving on to the second Saturday night game. West Coast Essendon, 18th versus 9th. So the team in the middle of the ladder and the team in the bottom of the ladder. In Perth, but that, as we've learned from this year and last year, that doesn't really mean anything anymore. West Coast, they're just in a very bad place at the moment. Coming off a 116-point loss to Hawthorn, probably the second worst side in the comp. 1-9, the only team now on 1 win. Yeah, it's not looking good. Sitting coming off 8 losses. Essendon, a good win over Richmond, really good win, 1 point. 5-5, 9th. So they can get a big win here, that would really get some momentum going. And I'm going to tip them by 78 with my Ollie's call that Zach Merritt has 25 plus disposals, coming off a great Dreamtime performance. Moving on to Yarpulti and Richmond. 1:10 p.m. Sunday MCG. This, it's really tough to tip this one, I reckon. Port Adelaide, they're coming off 7 consecutive wins. They're going really, really well. 8-2, third coming off a big Friday night win, close win against Melbourne. Richmond 3-1-6. New coach, McCoulter, I think it is, after Damien Hardwick's shock resignation. I don't know if they're 14th, but I don't know if they're finals contenders or they're just going to be bottom 6. So they beat Geelong. They had a pretty good win against West Coast, but then they lost to Essendon. But how do we know how good Essendon are at the moment? I'm going to tip Port Adelaide by 19 with my Ollie's call that Zach Butters is in the coaches' votes after a strong couple of weeks. Moving on, Marvel 3:20 Sunday. North Melbourne Collingwood. I can't believe they scheduled this a primetime game. It's not like North Melbourne are surprisingly going bad and Collingwood are surprisingly going good. Because you would have expected Collingwood top 4 and North Melbourne bottom 4. Collingwood 9-1. Game clear on top. They're just going amazing. Coming off 5 straight wins, I think. No, 6 straight wins. North Melbourne, a loss. If it wasn't for those 2 interchanges, I reckon they would have won. And they missed a few chances late as well. You have to tip Collingwood. I'm tipping them in a big win by 63 points with my Ollie's call that young gun for North Melbourne, George Wardlaw, has 13 plus disposals. Moving on to the final game of the round, one of the more interesting games of the round. Then against a pretty good round like last round, if this was in Brisbane, I'm tipping Brisbane easy. But it's in Adelaide. Adelaide play great at Adelaide Oval, not so much outside of Adelaide. Adelaide City in 8th, 5-5, coming off a loss at Mars Stadium, and the Dogs should have won by more. They're going alright though. Definitely a good year for them. Hopefully for the Crows fans, they'll have Thilthorpe and Walker. It was a stupid decision to rest Walker while Thilthorpe was injured. I don't know who thought of that. Anyway, Brisbane second, 8-2, coming off, I think, 7 straight wins. They're just coming off a good Q-Clash win. I'm going to tip Brisbane in a close one by 11 points with my Ollie's call that Charlie Cameron has 3+ shots at goal at his old hunting ground, Adelaide Oval. Thanks for watching Ollie's on the Ball, and I hope you watch more tipping videos in the future. Bye!